Be proud of how you train. Be proud of the relationship that you have with your dogs because of it. And don't let other people shit on you and make you feel silly about it when you know it works. Speak with your chest, Bridget.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to our podcast. Today, we have a video that I saw on TikTok that we're going to talk about because I think it brings up a really interesting conversation.
It does, yeah.
And it's a video by a person named Joe. Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
This person will post a segment of the video so you guys can see kind of the gist of it. But the basic overall context is that they adopted a pit bull. They're having a really hard time getting the dog to like settle and calm down. And the advice that they have been given and kind of the plan that they were moving forward with up to this point is just lots of like mental stimulation and physical exercise in an effort to tire the dog out to where they will settle. And I don't think that's going to work for them.
No. I think
it hasn't up until this point. That's why they're making the video and reaching out, is they're basically like, obviously whatever we're doing is not working. So somebody SOS, help me.
I think this person wants like advice from the internet. So this is like, we're not giving unsolicited advice here. This was
solicited advice. They asked for help. So, and I think we'll also go through some of the comments of people that are leaving their own advice as well. And we can discuss why some of them may be good or bad ideas. I think that it sounds like to me from how they're describing this dog, because they keep saying like rough play. So the dog must be extremely mouthy and bitey and jumpy and things like that.
It's a pity, by the way, putting into context.
Yes, and that's a very important piece of the puzzle because those dogs have can have very, very high levels of drive and intensity, and they have a very difficult time self-regulating if you are not actively teaching them how to do that in a way that makes sense.
Yes, yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of the advice on the internet is like kind of almost borderline owner shaming, that we're not doing enough for our dogs, that we're not giving them enough mental stimulation, we're not giving them enough exercise, where yes, exercise and mental stimulation can be a really important part of your dog's life, but we also have to have our dogs understand training things and like be calm because nothing's going on, rather than needing something 24/7, because we're in a cycle that's very toxic at that point.
Yeah. So I feel like after watching Joe's videos, like the two things that stood out to me the most when I was watching it was that it sounds like, and they said that they are working with a trainer currently. It does not sound, it sounds like a force-free trainer. I'm just assuming based on like the advice they're being given and things like that. And then it also, so that is going to be difficult because when you're dealing with a dog who is in such a high state of arousal all the time, just simply continuing to do like more mental games and exercise, more physical exercise, you're just essentially conditioning them to need more and more and more when we need them to stop. So taking the behaviors that you don't like and redirecting that. I think the concept of like redirecting is one of the like scariest things in the pet dog world. Okay, don't get it twisted. I understand that it's important in sport, working homes, things like that, you know, redirecting energy. But in a pet context, we don't need to be redirecting anything. We need to stop things.
So teach the dog like what is appropriate and what is not appropriate. And it's not to say that we can't do mental stimulation still and enrichment, puzzle toys and things like that. But your dog is not actively learning not to jump on people or not to start biting you when it's bored if you're constantly giving it something to do. Because it's just like, Mom, Dad, I'm bored. I need something. And then we give in, and it's kind of just like a slot machine at that point. Well,
and when Joe described the situation where I feel like all this kind of came to a head and they're like, okay, we need additional help. This isn't working. What we're doing obviously is not working. Their words, not mine. Was the dog, it seemed like, I don't know that it's resource guarding because they didn't mention any instances where that's come out prior. To me, it just sounded like a very frustrated dog because they had said that their trainer told them not to use a treat pouch and instead just keep the treats easily accessible somewhere nearby. And I don't know what the intention was behind that, or what. I'm wondering if maybe when they had the treats on them, the dog was like biting at it and jumping, and they didn't know how to stop that.
Where the target was, where the treats were.
Especially since the situation was, the treats were in like a cup on the counter somewhere. Once the dog realized where they were, got hyperfixated on it. And then it sounds like the human tried to like pull the dog back or get the dog away from the treats, and the dog like turned around and their words were like, came at me. So I'm sure it was like kind of like a charging behavior type of thing. They said they did get nipped by the dog. It drew like a little bit of blood. And so now they're kind of scared to be around the dog and, you know, things like that. So I think that to me, that situation, if there wasn't any other prior history of resource guarding, it likely wasn't resource guarding. You were just dealing with a very frustrated dog who has no clear concept of what the boundaries are. And then when you have to be physically confrontational, when they're hyper fixated, I mean, that's essentially like the dog's redirecting on when they're hyper fixated on a prey item. You know, that happens all the time with pit bulls. They're hyper fixated on something. And then if something gets in their way, then they redirect and they go after that. So to me, I think that's that exact situation. And all of that is just simply mitigated by punishment. Just correcting and setting very clear boundaries of, you can't put your mouth on me. You can't jump up on me. You can't jump up on the counters. You can't do X, Y, and Z, and make those boundaries super clear.
Yes. Yeah. So like, for example, to put this into a little bit of context, by punishment, we mean something adversive to the dog. So that could be a pet corrector. That could be an e-collar. That can be a prong collar. The easiest method is e-collar, in my opinion. But I had a Great Dane yesterday that's coming in for a board and train, and they needed support prior to their board and train because the dog's behavior was so out of control. Dog came in, big, huge dog, was jumping all over them, jumping on their shoulders, just so excited. Anytime they told him to do anything, he was just jumping. And was being reinforced because it wasn't being punished. And then sometimes he'd knock the treats down and he'd get the treats on the floor. So again, like, we have not worked with this dog prior. So I said, your homework this week is start to correct the jumping and the barking at things. So we can make two really clear things punishable: jumping and barking. And we utilize the e-collar for that. Every time the dog jumps, no, correct. And by the start of our session to the end, the behavior was completely different. So we instructed them to do that at home. So again, if punishment sounds like a bad word to you or you don't know what that means, it's just simply having a consequence to an action that the dog cares about.
Yeah.
So,
and it decreases the behavior so that you don't see it anymore.
And and we also want to mention, like, there's a huge myth that it's going to hurt the relationship with your dog, or they won't trust you, or there's fallout. And like we've discussed on this podcast multiple times,
that doesn't happen.
Those things aren't true. Michelle's been in this industry for 11 years. I've
never had it.
Yeah.
Literally never had it.
Yes.
You know how many dogs that I've trained in 11 years, how many clients I've had, and how many clients I have maintained relationships with for years of their dogs' lives. It does not happen. It's not real, guys.
Yeah.
Is it real if you're terrible at your job and you don't know what you're doing?
Yeah.
Sure. But to group all balanced trainers into the same pot and say that using punishment at all creates fallout is so disingenuous and just so easily proved to be untrue.
It is very untrue. And I think that you're not going to see success with a dog of that caliber and drive until you're able to come to terms with opening your mind about what other training methods you can use if your current things aren't working for you.
Yes.
So.
And I think with this situation specifically, I think it's important to, I would encourage, who knows, maybe Joe will see this. I would implore you to look into a specific trainer, J Jack. I've talked about him a couple times, but he specifically deals, like, he's very passionate about pit bulls. Like, that's like his bread and butter. And he coined like the window training.
Theory.
The window theory. And this is that exact situation. When there's like, and you guys can look into this more, but to summarize, essentially, there is like 3 natural windows that dogs are in. Yes. There's like the play with me window, there's the find your own fun window, and there's the resting window. And then we manufacture a 4th window of like working window. But those 3 other windows are just, at any time you can pinpoint your dog to be in one of those 3 states. And he has said that when he is trying to create the resting window, that he essentially only uses positive punishment. When you're trying to be like, okay, when we're in the house and I'm trying to cultivate resting window, I'm only going to tell you what you shouldn't be doing. I'm not going to tell you what to do because now we're in working window. That's not resting window. That's manufacturing rest and, you know, a fake sense of calm, right? That's just telling the dog to place. And now your dog's on place like this, right? But they're not resting. And as soon as you release them from place, they're jumping on you again. They're doing this, they're doing that. So to cultivate that resting window, you just have to use positive punishment to pinpoint things that you could literally do anything else. You just cannot do these things.
And you can start small. Like, for example, sometimes with our puppies or board and trains that are really high energy, we'll sit in a room with them and we start to see they're incapable of settling. They're incapable of doing anything because they're so used to constantly getting reinforcement from a human. So we start to see they're jumping on the counters. That can be corrected. They're coming over to me and they're like pawing me. I can correct that and still, again, not engage with the dog and just say, you're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do this. And then it becomes clear to them. And then soon enough, we see dogs just like lay down and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. They're like, well, I guess I have to do this. This is all, my options have been eliminated elsewhere. And this situation, you know, even if this person doesn't want to go straight into using punishment or anything, you could very simply put a leash on this dog, sit down on the couch, put on a TV show, and every time the dog tries to get up and walk away, no, you have to come back. Every time it tries to jump on you, nope, you have to stay on the floor. Every time it tries to walk away, nope, you have to come, and just literally give them no other option but to stay on the floor and to mind their own business. The only thing that you could run into is that you're dealing with an adult dog and not a puppy. When you're doing that stuff with a puppy, you're not dealing with a dog who has the capacity to really push behind those behaviors if they get really frustrated. So like this adult dog, I'm sure, has had a lot of reinforcement, whether from the current home it's in or other environments where if I push hard enough, I get my way. So you could potentially create a situation where their behavior escalates a lot before it actually dies down and gets worse, which could put them in a situation where the dog gets extremely mouthy or really frustrated or whatever it is. But just simply standing your ground and being like, I don't care if it takes us 2 hours, we're not leaving until you finally have emotionally worked through this iPad kid mentality of needing the lick mats and needing the Kongs and needing the puzzles and needing to go do this and that. You just have to do nothing. And that's your only option.
Yeah, when we've seen like lots of dogs come through here, like there's a specific dog that he boarded with us not too long ago, and I think his mom brought like 15 lick mats and they were frozen. She's very organized. All of this in the best intention. She wanted this dog to be mentally stimulated. But what that created was like around that time he expected that outlet. And if he didn't get it, he was like, come on,
a brat.
And he was incapable of settling down and relaxing in his crate because too much love or too much of anything is a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
So like constantly needing to get your dog to do something else, which I've done with Sunday as well. A couple of years ago when I was in experiences, I thought I always had to stimulate her, but I just started correcting her for getting into the food bin, for jumping on the couch, for things that I could control.
Mm-hmm. And then you probably saw a shift in her behavior where she's like, this is the rest window.
Yes.
This is where I just relax and hang out. And
yeah.
so I think that is very, I think simply just putting very clear boundaries into the home setting is a thing of the past. And now it's like trendy and, oh, you have to like give your dog all these mental stimulation outlets. I'm hoping we see that die down because people are seeing that it's creating more problems than it's solving. But unfortunately, I think a lot of people still recommend those things. Like, let me pull up the video and we'll read some of the comments that people left as advice that are not great advice. Okay, so there's not a ton of comments, so we can just probably fly through them. You're doing great, but he needs to learn an off switch. That is true. Ask your trainer to teach you flirt pole games. Also, making my dog wait for his meal once I put the bowl down helped expand his focus on me. Flirt poles are great, and especially dogs with high prey drive, like it sounds like this dog has, would enjoy it, but that will 100% not solve your problem.
Yes, yeah. And like these things, like we talked about, can be helpful and be useful in their own, but like a lot of these comments are suggesting things that aren't ultimately going to be a solution for the context that she's describing or they're describing.
And then this next one, he's just trying to adjust. Remember, it takes 1 to 4 weeks for that. Most studies say it takes 3 to 8 weeks with consistency to see progress in behavior with training. Wrong. That is so wrong. So wrong. First of all, Joe never says how long they've had this dog.
Yes.
They could have had this dog for 6 months already, for all we know, to a year. So who knows if they're even past that. But to say that you need to see any change in behavior with training, it could be 3 to 8 weeks. I don't necessarily agree with that. You can see a change pretty drastically, especially with nuisance behaviors.
And you don't have to wait that long and have yourself suffer. Like you come home at the end of the long day, the last thing you want to do is sit with your dog that can't relax and is bugging out.
Let's see. Seconding what other people have said, fenced yard or field for him to run in.
A sniff spot.
What's that going to do? Place training and or tethering training. Place training, no. Tethering, yes. Tethering could be very useful. They said sometimes less is actually more. I agree with that. Also work on establishing strict rules about when is and isn't playtime. I agree with that. Only play in one area. Have an all done command. Yes, all of that stuff is good, but what happens when the dog doesn't listen or the dog doesn't want to do it? That's the key points people are leaving out. The way that you are strict with having an all done command when playtime is over is by when you punish the dog for pushing you to play once you've given that. And that's the unpopular thing that nobody wants to talk about.
Yeah.
That all sounds great, but this poor person is basically saying we're doing all of that. It's not working.
Yeah.
Me simply saying all done does not mean the dog is going to magically be like, oh, we're all done. Okay.
Somebody commented, didn't do enough research. Not everybody has to do a college level research before they get a dog.
Well, and also Joe prefaced the video with saying, I did a ton of research. I am
not enough, Joe.
Yeah, apparently not enough,
according
Joe,
to Allie.
Also, to say that having these issues with your dog means you didn't do enough research. So we have to like want to be miserable living with our dog. Like we have to accept that as a fate. That doesn't make any sense.
No, you don't.
Make sure he's getting enough rest.
My
dogs have always gotten wild when they don't get enough sleep.
I think again we're looking at this as like making them like infants or children.
I don't see, like, this is crazy. Everyone is so, Joe, you're not doing enough. You're not, like, all of this is code. Everyone is saying is code for the owner isn't doing enough. The owner isn't doing this. The owner isn't doing that. Joe's just trying to live their life.
Yeah.
Okay. And they are trying their best and making it very clear that like, we have been consistent. We have been doing these things. It is not working. And if it doesn't work, I can't keep this dog.
Yeah. People are like, you're not doing enough. And that's where like the force-free community starts to shame owners into like scare tactics. Like you can't ever use punishment. You can't ever use anything like that.
Are you giving him the rough play that he is looking for? Tug is great as well as fetch if he'll do it. He just needs a fenced area to run out his energy.
Yes.
No, he doesn't. This little fucker needs to be told no and given a correction. Yeah. That's what he needs.
This like is all sounding very similar to a board and train we had not too long ago. And the lady came in and she was like, lick mats. I have all this stuff. Like she brought all this stuff there as board and train. And he was a brat in the lobby, barking, couldn't even hear her speak. He freaks out in her apartment. And she's like, nothing is working. I exercise him. I walk him for 2 hours a day. And when we're in the stairwell, he still barks at people. And she's like, I can't offer him any more exercise. And I said, it's not the exercise.
No.
We have to punish the behavior of the barking. And guess what? It worked.
Amazing. But now he's just suppressed, Bridget.
Yeah.
That's all you did.
Yeah.
Sometimes suppression ain't bad, guys. Okay.
Let's be honest.
Anyways, back to this. Someone said, I use a clicker for my beagle for redirecting attention who has trauma. Your dog sounds like he might just need attention and calmness. Yeah. That's what Joe's saying, that we don't have calmness.
Yeah.
Nothing that you said has given any clear direction on how to create the calmness. Maybe he's overstimulated too. You fucking think?
Yeah.
Wow. And the sky is blue. Amazing. Do you have a bike? Joe, do not ride your bike with this dog. you
I'm worried
might
for
die.
your safety.
For your safety, do not do that. A dog behaviorist.
Yes.
Okay.
I saw that
we're
one.
just going to dope them up. That's what we're going to do.
A behaviorist should be able to drug your dog so they can be tired.
Oh my gosh. Give them time. They're adjusting from the shelter, and sometimes all it takes is for them to know they're not going to be given back.
Yeah.
He needs running, not walking. Full off leash, running free.
Okay, so you want him to run fully off leash, but how do we train that reliability?
Yeah, and he's given too much crate time. He's cooped up and going nuts. Joe, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry you're going through this.
Sniffing. Let the dog sniff more, somebody suggested. That'll do it. That'll do it. Okay, so Joe responded to one of the comments. He's 2 years old. He's neutered. Had him for 6 weeks. We do a minimum of 2 lick toys at night and plenty of other enrichment. Joe has said that they've taken this dog for 2 45-minute walks a day as well. I know not to use his crate as punishment, and he has a good relationship with it. Because somehow people are assuming from this video that Joe's just like using the crate as punishment when that was never indicated at all in this. In fact, they're just using the crate as a management tool right now because this dog is an absolute savage menace to live with, it sounds like. This might sound stupid, but let him run somewhere. It is stupid. You're right. That is kind of stupid.
If these solutions by themselves worked, then
no one would have issues.
Yeah.
Do you guys see how stupid this is? Let him sniff more. Let him run more. Don't put him in the kennel as much. Do a couple more lick mats. Ride your bike with him. You think there's people in the world that aren't doing a million of those things and more and still having terrible issues with their dog because you have to punish the behaviors or they will not go away.
And all corrections, let's just be clear, are 100% avoidable. The dog just has to learn how to avoid them. So when we're looking at punishment, we're thinking it's so mean and nasty. It's not. You have to be real. Be fucking for real, guys.
Be fucking for real. Pities mature very slowly. Guys, this dog came at this person in a way that was slightly aggressive, if not just downright rude. Okay, that has nothing to do with maturity.
Yeah.
If anything, that's the maturity. That's the angle you want the dog to mature in, being like that towards the person that it has to live with.
And this could be somebody that they are asking for help, and they're truly saying like, what can I do?
Yeah.
And they're trying to avoid the situation where they surrender the dog, which unfortunately happens all the time because of shitty advice like this, where it doesn't do anything to help the dog actually, or help the person.
Yes. So those comments are just infuriating.
That's why I try to scroll past a bunch of that stuff because it is so infuriating. And then I commented on that and I said balance training. And I'm gonna get so many hate comments.
This is gonna make it worse. It's gonna ruin their relationship. Guys, their relationship already sounds like it sucks.
Yeah.
That's the one thing that gets me, is that people try to tell us that like having people use corrections and punishment and training is going to ruin the relationship. Their relationship already sucks. How much worse could it get?
Yes. Yeah.
Like, we get people that are getting bit by their own dogs. We have people that can't even take their dog out for a walk in their neighborhood because they're getting dragged down. We have people that can't even leave their house because their dog is so anxious. We have people that can't have people over because their dog is biting people that come in the door. Their relationship with that dog already sucks. So where are you trying to implant this fake fear that somehow training and teaching the dog to not do those things is going to magically make it worse?
It doesn't. And I'm very happy with the work that I do. I'm sure you're very happy with the work you do. And I haven't had a situation where a dog comes back after a board and train is like scared of me and like terrified. It's very happy to see me because it knows I'm stable and I can set rules and boundaries. And getting the owner to that point alleviates so much stress from the owner side, and that opens the dog's life up so much more. So like, how dare you say that balance training alone is what's affecting a dog? Like, that it's negative. It's always negative. You can get shitty balance trainers, but just like all like force-free and positive-only trainers, there's so many different methods with them as well. Yeah. And things they agree on or disagree on. There's a lot in balance training too.
Oh, yeah. There's so much variance in things.
And there's good balance trainers, like I said, and then there's really shitty ones. So again, like, look at reviews, look at testimonies, look at their before and after, and not just somebody that's like, don't use balance training. And you're like, where are your videos, Dr. Carey? Guys, update. Dr. Carey blocked me.
See, I wasn't bullying her. That's what happens when you press somebody for actual proof of their work to stand behind their bullshit comments and they can't give it to you. They just block you.
Because like, Dr.
Because you weren't being rude.
No, I wasn't.
You were just saying, like, can you show me evidence of you training a dog?
Yeah.
And this working?
Like, the post was basically like, I don't need to provide evidence. Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Who doesn't need to provide evidence in any line of work for people to believe them?
Yeah. So you can say, I'll do that job and I'll do it really well. And then this guy could say, I'll do that job and I'll do it really well. And then he has a ton of proof of his work. Yeah. I'm going to go with that guy rather than the guy that's like, you have to pay to get the proof that you need. No, that's a scam.
It is a scam. These people, they just like parasites. They feed off of like humans' need for like feel good things all the time. Yes. And then they give you nothing. Okay, Dr. Carey, give us nothing. Yeah. Nothing at all. You caught us on a day, guys. We were already in a mood. Yeah. and then we're filming a podcast. I woke up in a mood today.
I know.
Because I'm just so frustrated at times. Because
it isn't a very exhausting, emotionally taxing, physically exhausting job, career to be in. Yes. And here we are showing up every day. We were crying.
Oh my gosh, we're just such good, amazing people.
We're doing the Lord's work.
Oh, we're withstanding so much turbulence among our career paths, and we're really just pushing through and persevering.
Are we? Jesus Christ.
Oh my gosh. But truly, all of the things are just piling up recently, and I think it's just because we've gotten so many shitheads on the internet coming out of the woodwork recently. Again, trying to say things that aren't real and don't actually happen.
I love when Jeff Gellman crashes out on his podcast.
He really does.
And I just watched his live one time and somebody made a stupid comment and he chewed them off. I was just like, go Jeff.
It's come a time, guys. It's come a time where we can't turn the cheek anymore. We have for very long, we have put our heads down and we have just minded our own fucking business and trained dogs and worked with people and been successful and everything. But you can only do that for so long, man. It's getting wily out here. Okay. My favorite Jeff Gellman crashing out moment was a long time ago when he started beating himself in the head with a bonker on his live. Did you see that?
I think I
have. Someone was talking about the bonker and how unethical it is and blah, 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 blah. And he takes the bonker and he just starts hitting himself in the head with it. He's like, it doesn't hurt. And he just keeps going. Yes. I was like, that's internally how we all feel every once in a while.
Yeah, I feel like that.
Every day. The stupidity is rampant.
Yeah.
It is rampant. And sometimes people need to be told that they're stupid, I think.
Mm-hmm. They do.
I think they need to be told that they're stupid. Telling somebody with a dog that is behaving aggressively and being super bratty and rude and all of these things that they just need to let their dog run around in a field for an hour.
Yeah, go to a sniff spot.
Stupid.
Mm-hmm.
It's stupid.
Go ride a bike.
Oh, let me go buy one of those spring pole things to hang from a tree for my pit bull. That helps. Stupid. That is stupid advice.
Yeah.
Oh, you should let him sniff more. Stupid advice.
It's these are pet parents too.
Thank you. You've contributed nothing to this conversation.
These aren't trainers. And also, Joe, if you're watching this, please don't go to a behaviorist.
Don't. You're just going to leave with gabapentin and trazodone and fluoxetine. Mm-hmm. And your dog is going to be doped up and still doing all of the same things it's doing.
And what quality of life is it to drug something every single day rather than effectively working with the issues? Mm-hmm. What's more cruel is literally having to give a medication that literally subdues them every single day, or saying if you jump on the counter, you're going to get a correction via static stim.
Yeah. It's really giving, the way we dope up dogs these days, it's really giving lobotomies for women vibes. The hysterical woman that needs a lobotomy.
Both of us would fit under that category.
Yeah, 100%. If I lived in that time period, I would have had 3 by now.
Yeah. I would have been yes, husband.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the vibes it's giving me, though. It's oh, they're not credible. We've just got to, take out their brain.
Yeah.
And then they'll subdue and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
No. Let's give dogs the benefit of the doubt that they can learn. Mm-hmm. They don't have to be drugged up. They can learn. They can learn good things and they can learn bad things.
Yes.
That's nature.
It is.
That's nature for you.
Need you to help them figure out what is good and what is bad because they don't have a moral compass and they can't say, it hurt my mom's or hurt my dad's feelings when I jumped on them earlier.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're I got what I wanted.
Mm-hmm. Dogs very much view the world through what am I in charge of and what is in charge of me.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. And then they figure out where they fall in between those things. If through their physicality or their behaviors, they learn that they can control what you do and how you respond, it's as black and white as they're like, okay, so I can control that. My behaviors dictate what that thing does or that person does. Therefore, I'm in charge of it. And then all of a sudden, you have no respect from your dog. And they do whatever they want, and you just have to deal with it.
Yes. It's quite sad. Like the people that have come in for board and trains recently, we've had a lot of dogs that have gone through other board and trains with no avail, like no success, nothing to stop them from going to another board and train. And there's people that are just like so defeated and worn out. And I literally sometimes feel like crying when I'm talking to clients. They're in the lobby, like crying over how much their dog has made their life absolutely miserable and how toxic that relationship is. And then they walk out after the send home lesson and everybody's happy, cool, calm, and collected. It is such a good feeling. So
like we've been putting videos up following this dog, Barrett. I just had a lesson with them. He's this little tiny fluffy guy. And he literally like controlled their entire life.
Yeah.
He's
a little brat.
He's a brat. He bites you. He bites like he is a brat. And they were talking, we just did our 8th session. And we were talking, so at one point in the session, we're having a discussion and we were like, we look over, Barrett is just asleep across the room on one of the beds. Now, if any of you have been following, we did not tell him to go to the bed, okay? If any of you have been following his progress, you will remember a whole video of him screaming his little motherfucking head off when he was on the bed because he just needed to be with his mom. He needed to be with his mom, right? And meanwhile, now he's off going, doing his own little independent thing because his confidence is there and he's snoozing while we are having a conversation. This man could not function if anybody wasn't actively talking to him, touching him, doing something with him. He was demanding it, right? And to find him just snoozing over there while we're having a conversation, incredible. And the conversation, hilariously enough, was about how they were like, we could not even fathom the life that we have with this dog at this point. They were like, and the stories that they were telling me about him, they're like, we look back on it and we're like, how insane that we allowed and just accepted that was the way our life had to be. They were like, we would be playing a board game. We'd have friends over and we would be playing a board game on the ottoman in our living room. And Barrett would run over, jump onto the board game and lay down on the ottoman. And we would just be like, okay, we're done with the game now because I'm not touching him.
My dog won't let me.
Yeah,
I'm not.
Yeah, well, and they're like, if we tried to touch him, to get him down, to tell him anything, he would bite. They're like, so that was it. The board game was done. And they're like, we look back on that now and we're like, how embarrassing. That like we just let that happen and just went along with it. Like crazy.
So you don't know what you don't know. So like again, keeping an open mind and exploring all the training options that are out there, particularly punishment, is super helpful to improving your relationship with your dog. And if anybody tells you that it's going to hurt your relationship, fire them, ignore them, because this is you and your dog and you get to make the calls on it.
And it's crazy because like, even on the internet and in social media, there's been this uptick, right, of like establishing boundaries with people. Finally not being a people pleaser and like putting your foot down with your mother-in-law or your toxic family and talking to them and being like, these are my boundaries, and then enforcing them. Yeah. Hey, you can do that with your dog too. Yeah. And I think what people don't recognize is that having a conversation with someone and saying, I don't like the way you treat me, I'm not going to tolerate it anymore, is positive punishment. It is positive punishment. We've all, at some point in our life, probably been on the receiving end of somebody saying, the way that you did this or what you said to me or how you behaved hurt me and I don't like it. And being the person to hear that from somebody else is extremely uncomfortable. It's extremely aversive. We don't like it. We don't like to be told that we're wrong or that we did something wrong. So that's positive punishment. So you guys are constantly preaching about using positive punishment to set boundaries for yourself in your everyday life. And then all of a sudden, we're not going to do that with our dogs.
With our fur babies.
Which is hilarious because Dogs are a lower species. They are not as advanced.
Ella, cut that into a reel.
Oh no, I said it again.
They're gonna be like, nice bangs. Yawn, yawn, boring. Come up with a new insult. Thank you.
People just can't. But like they are not as advanced. They're not as developed. They're not as emotionally complex.
And they're not human beings.
They're not human beings. You can't have a conversation with them and get them to understand where you're coming from. They need black and white, clear-cut boundaries.
It's an animal.
It's an animal. If that animal lived on the street, do you know how it learns boundaries? Through unpleasant experiences. There's nothing out there in the wild that's holding their hand and using positive reinforcement to walk them through learning boundaries.
Yeah, and the animal kingdom can be very rough.
It's savage.
It is savage.
Okay? It's violent out there.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, guys, let's just stop being stupid.
Yeah.
Here's my
That's
summary.
the podcast title. Stop being stupid.
You hear that page?
Stop.
That's the title. Stop being stupid. Okay? No stupidity anymore.
Yeah. We're
like
done.
before you say things or you type things, think in your head, is this stupid?
Am I being stupid?
And it probably is. So maybe don't say it and don't type it.
There's Chat GPT now.
I've never used that.
You can
It
ask
freaks me out.
AI. You say, am I being stupid? And it'll be like, actually, yeah, you are.
Yeah, it'll be like, actually, yeah, you are stupid.
Yeah. You're a dumb little idiot, and I'm a computer.
Any last thoughts, Bridget?
You know, I
About
don't think
stupidity?
so. Let's be smart in 2025. Let's make smarter choices. Let's stop bullying people into thinking that punishing their dog is inherently wrong or going to hurt their relationship, because it won't.
And also, if you know that punishment has worked with your dog and you have seen progress, then stop hiding it.
Yeah.
Stand up.
Yeah.
Okay? Speak your mind. Talk to people about how, like, actually, yeah, this has worked extremely well for me. We got to start fighting back, guys. It's gone too far.
Yeah.
It's gone
Be
too
proud
far.
of the way you train, like,
Yes.
loud and proud.
Yes. Be proud of how you train. Be proud of the relationship that you have with your dogs because of it. And don't let other people shit on you and make you feel silly about it.
No.
When you know it works. They can say all they want, but you know it works. But yeah. Thanks for joining us today, guys. And this week, just don't be stupid.
Yeah. Be smart.
That's our takeaway. It's a tough call to action these days, apparently.
Yes. Be smart. Don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.